Tonight's video features 3 terrifying real-life encounters caught on doorbell cameras. These are moments where homeowners discovered something disturbing happening outside their house in the middle of the night. From strangers lurking outside front doors to unexplained visitors who refused to leave, these stories show how unsettling security footage can be when you're the one living in the house. Story 1. I thought the knock at 2 a.m. was a prank, until my doorbell camera froze on a face I didn't recognize, eyes wide, lips moving in a silent, jerky rhythm. The video cut off after 3 seconds, but the timestamp stayed on the screen, 2 hours, 3 minutes, 17 seconds. I replayed it until my neck hurt, because the next time I checked the feed, the same figure was there, standing exactly where the previous one had vanished. I'm Alex, a freelance designer who works from a small house on Willow Lane, a cul-de-sac that's never quite seen the kind of traffic you'd expect in a suburb. When I installed the Ring camera 2 months ago, I told myself I was just being cautious. My wife had left a few weeks earlier, and the house felt too quiet. I never imagined the camera would become my only witness. The first clip showed a man in a dark hoodie, his hood pulled low, staring directly at the front door. He didn't move. The night was clear, the street lamp casting a thin halo around his shoulders. He raised his hand, fingers curling as if to test the doorbell button, but didn't press. Then the camera glitch. Pixelated static, the sound of a distant car passing, and the image snapped back to a dark porch, empty. I thought it was a glitch, but the notification pinged again at 2:04:02. Motion detected. I watched the second clip with a racing heart. The same figure was now a few feet away, his back to the camera, pacing slowly along the concrete slab. He stopped, turned his head, and stared straight into the lens. His eyes were dead black, unblinking, as though he were measuring the weight of the camera with them. I heard the faint click of a lock being fiddled with. My front door's deadbolt, the one I always double-checked before bed. In the footage, his fingers traced the edge of the lock, then retreated. The video ended with a low, guttural breath that seemed to echo through the speakers. I called the police, but they said no footage of a crime and advised me to keep the camera on. I couldn't turn it off. I needed to know if he would come again. At 3:15:41, a third clip recorded. The porch was bathed in a thin fog that had rolled in from the nearby creek. The stranger stood exactly where the lock had been, now holding a small, rusted key I didn't recognize. He slipped it into the lock, turned it slowly. The camera caught the moment his hand trembled, as if the metal was colder than the night air. The lock clicked open. I heard the door creak, not on my side of the feed, but from the other side, a faint thud as the door swung inward a fraction. My heart hammered against my ribs. I bolted upright, grabbed my phone, and sprinted to the back door, fumbling for the spare key hidden in the flower bed. The house was silent except for the whir of the camera's night vision. The screen showed the porch, empty, except for a single shoe, a scuffed sneaker left where the man had stood, its laces untied. No footprints, no blood, nothing but the shoe staring back at me like a question. I never saw him again. The camera recorded no further motion for weeks. I moved the doorbell to the garage, installed extra lights, even bought a second camera, but the footage never captured anything more than the occasional stray cat. Yet every night at exactly 2:03, my phone buzzes with a notification. Motion detected. I never check it. I just stare at the dark hallway, listening for the faint scrape of a key turning in a lock that isn't there. It could be a neighbor's kid, a prankster, a stray animal. Any of those explanations would make sense. But the key is gone. The lock is still intact, and the doorbell camera, my only eye on the world, holds a single, unanswered frame. A stranger, hood pulled low, staring directly at me, hands frozen halfway to the button. The night is still, and I'm left with a question that never gets answered. Who was watching me, and what was he waiting for? Story 2. The first time my doorbell camera caught a stranger, I laughed it off as a prank and uploaded the clip to my channel, only to watch the view count skyrocket in seconds. I had installed the Ring a year ago, mostly to keep an eye on the junkyard-filled lot behind my house. The night vision feed was grainy, but the motion alerts were reliable. That's why, when the notification pinged at 2:17 a.m., I was already half asleep, thumb hovering over delete. The screen showed a faint silhouette standing in the rain, half obscured by the porch light's halo. He didn't move, didn't ring, he just stood there, shoulders hunched as if waiting for something or someone to appear. I replayed the footage frame by frame, zoomed in until his face was a smear of wet hair and a flickering street lamp. Nothing identifiable, but the way his eyes tracked the camera as I moved the cursor sent a chill down my spine. I posted the video with a caption, "Stranger on my doorstep at 2 a.m. What would you do?" The comments were a mix of jokes, conspiracy theories, and one simple, unsettling reply. He's been there before. 2 nights later, the same alert sounded at 2:19 a.m. I stared at the screen, heart thudding, and saw him again, this time leaning against the railing, his gloved hand gripping the metal. He lifted his head, eyes locking onto the lens as if he knew I was watching. The camera's night vision flickered, a brief white flash, then steadied. He didn't ring, he didn't try the door. He simply waited. I called the police, but they chalked it up to a trespasser, likely a homeless individual seeking shelter. The officer's radio crackled as he left. "We'll keep an eye on it." He meant the neighborhood, not my door. The third night, the alert came at 2:22 a.m., but the footage was different. The porch lights were off. The street lamp's glow was the only illumination. A figure, taller, bulkier, was at the back door, crouching, hand pressed against the lock. I could see the faint outline of a lock-picking set glinting in his palm. The camera's motion sensor kept snapping, each frame a jittery, frantic blur. He tried the door. The lock clicked, his shoulders tensing as if hearing something behind him. I bolted out of bed, grabbed the baseball bat I kept under the bed for just in case, and sprinted to the front door. The lock was intact, the door cold to the touch. The only sound was rain pattering against the metal, the muffled thud of my own pulse. I turned back to the camera, static. The feed had gone dead at the exact moment the intruder's fingers brushed the latch. I rewound the final seconds. In the darkness beyond the porch, a pair of eyes reflected the faint glow of my phone screen as I held it up, recording. They were close, no more than a foot away, watching me, unblinking. I never saw anyone at the door after that, but the notifications kept coming. Empty alerts at 2:15 a.m., 2:18 a.m., 2:21 a.m., each one a silent reminder that something was waiting, just out of sight. I turned the camera off, unplugged it, and covered the lens with a scrap of black tape. The rain kept falling, and the house felt louder than ever. Somewhere in the night, a faint hum began from the now silent doorbell, a low, mechanical whine that grew louder with each passing minute until the power cut out completely, plunging everything into darkness. And that's the last footage anyone ever got to see.